7th Parliament.
I thank the honourable member for Fremantle. Is the motion seconded? And I call the honourable member for Warringah.
Thank you, Mr Deputy Speaker. I second the motion. And I thank the member for Fremantle for bringing this important motion regarding the State of the Environment Report 2021. Having been on the Environment and Energy Committee in the last Parliament with the member for Fremantle, I know his passion for the environment is incredibly strong. The report key findings begin, overall the state and trend of the environment of Australia are poor and deteriorating as a result of increasing pressures from climate change, habitat loss, invasive species, pollution and resource extraction. Since 2016, the number of listed threatened species rose by 8% and more extinctions are expected. Climate change is increasing that pressure on every ecosystem. There has been continued decline in the amount and condition of our natural capital. Native vegetation, soil, wetlands, reefs, rivers and biodiversity are all under pressure and declining. Land clearing remains unacceptably high, and our coastline is in danger of being loved to death. The report has introduced new chapters dedicated to extreme events, as well as climate change and Indigenous stewardship of land. Environmental destruction costs our economy billions of dollars, with climate change and biodiversity loss representing both national and global financial risk. This is not a nice to have. Protecting the environment and our biodiversity is a must-do. I welcome the commitment by the Environment Minister Plibersek to continue Australia's promise to protect 30% of Australia's land and waters by 2030 under the 30 by 30 target. Australia has already gone well past the ocean goal with 45% protected. At present, around 22% of Australia's landmass is protected in our National Reserve System. The problem is, as the SOE report highlights, biodiversity loss and environmental decline in Australia have continued. In fact, they have accelerated, even as our protected areas have grown in recent decades. So after years of underfunding, our protected areas urgently need proper resourcing and management. Without that, protected area targets just don't mean much. It won't work. Environmental management is not well coordinated and is one of the biggest challenges to reversing the decline in our natural environment. In total, public protected areas like national parks have only contributed to around 5% of the expansion of terrestrial protected area since 1996, only 5%. Non-governmental organisation land purchases, Indigenous protected areas and individual private landholders have facilitated 95% of the growth. The coordination of environmental management is vital, not only within the protected areas, but also outside those areas. We're ignoring the drivers of biodiversity loss, such as land clearing, resource extraction and mismanagement, while drawing lines around poorly funded protected areas. Ultimately, this will defeat the environmental goals. As a case in point, the Albanese government's decision recently to open up 46,000 square kilometres of ocean to oil and gas exploration and seismic testing shows that the new government is big on talk when it comes to the environment, but that is all it will be if you go follow it with actions like this. You cannot continue that way. The release of new exploration must be cancelled. The State of the Environment report credits Indigenous knowledge and management with helping to deliver on-ground change. This includes traditional fire management. Partnership between traditional owners and the federal government have produced 81 Indigenous protected areas, mainly on native title land. These cover some 85 million hectares, fully 50% of our entire protected land estate. Independent ranger and Indigenous ranger groups are also managing country outside the Indigenous protected area system. Work must still be done to empower Indigenous communities and enable Indigenous communities and their knowledge system to improve our environmental and social outcomes. And lastly, if we're talking about environmental protection, we must talk about Professor Graham Samuel's review of the Environmental Protection and Biodiversity Conservation Act 1999. It's very clear that we need strong national environmental standards. We need an Environmental Assurance Commissioner, and we need to ensure that climate change impacts is included in all assessments of projects under the EPBC Act.
I thank the honourable member for Wirring.